Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, I'm just getting a couple things squared away here. Hopefully, it's not too loud with the wind outside. It's typhoon season here in Japan, so everything's windy and crazy outside. And unfortunately, my office/streaming rig is right next to the outside wall, so you probably hear some wind in the background. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, so give me a few minutes, and I'm finishing getting set up here. Let me know in the Twitch chat or YouTube chat or Facebook chat, wherever you're watching this, if you hear that music going on in the background. Last time I had it going, it was supposed to be going, but when I watched the replay, I couldn't hear it. So I'm curious to know if you guys can hear it. I turned it up a little bit this time, so please let me know. Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, it's Jason, and tonight we've got a very good, I think, a very good stream lined up. We are actually going to finally cover installing a Hitbox panel in the Hori wrap. And I've been making these panels for a while. A number of people on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. have posted pictures of their successful conversions. But a lot of people have asked if I could do kind of a, hey, how do you do this type of thing? And I thought tonight was a great opportunity to do it because I've been recently getting a lot of questions about the SOCD cleaners I sell and how to properly install them. And just a number of people are missing a couple very basic things, and I'm hoping that we can cover all of that in one fell swoop tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. I've already done a little work, but I'm going to go through the work that I have done so you guys can see it. And if I'm off here looking to the side, it's so I can check out Twitch chat, YouTube chat, and Facebook chat, and answer any questions that may come up. So let's go ahead and flip this thing over. Let's go ahead and switch the cameras around so you can see what I'm working on, and we'll see what's up. And it looks like the music's too loud, and now I'm really close to the microphone. Alright, see, this is the problem that we had last time, is the music was too quiet and no one could hear it. How's that? Let me know if that's a little bit better, everybody. I'm also like 1.5 inches away from my microphone right now. Alright, how's that? Is that better? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? And I may have to step away for a minute because it's like prime package delivery time here in Japan. And I think there's a delivery guy outside. So, fingers crossed. I've been waiting for a package for a couple days. Alright, how's that sound for everybody? Please let me know in the comments. Thumbs up, socks up. Good. Okay, let me go ahead and switch the camera over here. Boom, there we go. Okay, so good. Now you still have this, all of this up in the upper left there, and then you got the work area here. I'm actually gonna have to resituate my stream setup and get this bad boy installed. I picked up the Stream Deck XL, and the idea is I need to put it right here in front of me so I can just reach over and press it. Right now it's about 3 feet off to the side, and it's a huge pain in the butt. Okay. Okay. So let's cover a couple things. You want to convert your Hitbox wrap or your wrap into a Hitbox. Maybe you want to convert your wrap 4, your HWrap 4 to a Hitbox. I offer panels for both. Heck, maybe you even want to convert your VLX to a Hitbox. Yeah, screw it. Any stick that I make a panel for typically has a Hitbox. And with the recent ruling of the Capcom Pro Tour, they say that if you're going to use a Hitbox, you have to have an SOCD cleaner in it that basically operates the way my SOCD cleaner operates. Meaning, if you press left and right at the same time, it neutrals out, and if you press down and up at the same time, it defaults to up. It's basically to prevent things that, like Diego was doing, or Diego was doing during Combo Breaker, where he was holding left to charge and then just tapping right and causing, allowing a sonic boom. That's called last direction wins SOCD cleaning. Capcom came out and said, hey, no more of that. If you're going to do it, you got to do it this way. And unfortunately, a lot of games don't build SOCD cleaning in, and these fight sticks don't always necessarily do it the right way either. So that left a big gap in the community for a long time. There was a couple people that were making these SOCD cleaners. They have since stopped, and I thought, I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I got the technology. Why don't I make them for my fight sticks and the panels that I make fight sticks for? Because people are going to need this. Eventually this is going to become a legality concern in tournaments, and guess what? Fast forward, now there are strict rules by Capcom Pro Tour that says this is how you do it. So let's go ahead and get started. Say you get we're going to just focus on the wrap end today because that's what I got available. I mean, I had the other sticks, but this was like the one I kind of already had torn open. And yes, Diego, I'm sorry. It is, let's see, what time is it here in Japan? It is, it's only 8 o'clock at night. But, to my defense, I've been up since 04. That's my normal day. Anyways, so you've got this wrap in or whatever stick, and you buy one of my kits. Now, I do offer a number of kits on my website for hitboxes. I offer this one where it's just a panel, the SOCD cleaner, and this conversion harness. That's what we're going to assume you got today. If you got one of the TE2s or the TE hitbox conversions, there may be plexi involved, but that's not really germane to this conversation in the install because that's just an extra step for installation, basically putting that plexi in. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about a few things. First and foremost, let's look at the SOCD cleaner. It's going to come in this fancy hot dog colored bubble wrap here. You pull it out, and you're going to notice a couple of things. You've got this connection over here. Let me go ahead and zoom in, and hopefully we'll actually stay in focus this time. Okay, so you've got this connection over here. This is where you plug your stock JLF harness into, and we're going to cover that in the build. Meaning, you disconnect your JLF, and boom, you plug it in right there. It's very easy. It only goes in one way. You're done. Next thing you're going to notice is you got this two-point terminal here. This is going to provide 5 volts in ground to this circuit. Yes, this is an actual circuit. These chips require power. If you don't supply power to them, this is not going to function right. These chips are going to kind of hang in an unknown state for the logic. Yes, they may pick up some phantom power over your inputs from the PCB coming over here off that JLF, but that's not the right way to power this, and it's not going to operate reliably. Some people have said that, hey, in my TE2 it works fine, I'm not going to apply power. Hey, that's on you, but I don't recommend that install. You have to apply power for this to operate as intended. So please make sure you do that. And we'll cover how I did it in this fight stick here in a few minutes. And then last but not least, over here you got these screw terminals. It's labeled, and we're going to go from top to bottom as we're looking at it, GRG, LG, DG, U. And what does that mean? Ground, right, ground, left, ground, down, ground, up. So each terminal is either a ground or a directional input. And so that makes it really easy to connect all the wires from the buttons in your panel to the screw terminals here. Now, you might be saying, well, heck, why did you give me this harness in the kit if I have to use these screw terminals? Well, I wanted to make these kits kind of universal, and if you had a Brook Universal Fight Board in here, you don't need the SOCD, because the SOCD is built into the Brook Universal Fight Board. But not everyone has that, so I had to put together a kit that was relatively universal for everybody. Hence, why you get this. Now, this is a very easy thing to use with this, and all you end up having to do is cut the wires off, strip them, and then put them here in the screw terminal. But you may be saying, hey Jason, what the heck, man, there's only one black. Do I need to connect, which ground, which G do I connect it to? It doesn't matter. Connect it to whichever one you want. All the grounds on this board are interconnected, making it a common ground PCB. So you can just plug it in and you're good to go. Now, the interesting thing here is you'll notice on the silk screen, there's this little arrow and it says, joystick connector, and it says DULRG. That means down, up, left, right, and ground. Pretty easy. And we put that there so that you don't have to have some weird graphic or something on the internet or from my help desk to figure out which colors go to which on this side, because you'll know based on what's coming here which color is which using this legend. So there you go. So that's that. So let's go ahead and set this off to the side and look at our fight stick here. Alright, now there's a couple of ways you can do this, and I'm not going to say this is the best way, this is the worst way, it's just a way. You can take the top panel off first, or you can, and then fight with the wires, or you can flip it over and take the bottom panel off first, and you'll see here, that's what I've already done. And of course, I did this a while ago. I used this as a good stick to test the SOCD cleaner in a couple months ago when I was finalizing it and getting it ready for production. And I just kind of left it this way, and now I have no idea which wire goes to which button. So that will be really fun to figure out later. I'm not going to worry about putting it in and installing that today. I just want to get the panel swapped over and show you how I've installed the SOCD so that you can use this as a guide for your install at home. Okay, so a couple things. Obviously, I've already taken off the bottom panel here. Let's go ahead and zoom back out so you can see everything. The bottom panel came off. It had these 6 screws that I took out. So that's how it came off. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously, one is under their warranty void if removed sticker, which, by the way, doesn't matter in the United States. Peel that off to your heart's content. They cannot deny you warranty. All right. So take those 6 screws out. Boom, panel lifts off, and now you have not this, because this is the result of me schlepping this around my house for the last couple months, moving it out of my way, kind of unkempt. Next thing I did is I went ahead and I disconnected the JLF. Well, this is Hayabusa, but I disconnected the connector there. And you can see I already plugged it into my SOCD that's sitting here. And I disconnected all the button wires, because we're going to need to take all of this off to put our panel in its place. Alright, so let's go ahead and just assume that that is already done. And we're going to flip this over. Actually, you know what? You'll see here what I did is I just took some random buttons and plugged them all into the SOCD cleaner. And this is how I was kind of testing things. So I'm going to just remove the wires here, just so I have a little bit of room to work in my freshly cleaned workspace and organized toolbox. So just go ahead and disconnect these. I'm just loosening the screw terminals here just for ease. And I'm probably going to reuse these wires just because there's no reason not to. But I will shorten them up a little bit and clean up the wiring on the inside so it's not such a mess. Alright. Cool. So we got those disconnected, and we're just going to set this off to the side. Alright. Now let's pretend that this is not here. I'm not going to disconnect the wires from this because I want to leave them in place, but we'll go ahead and now we can flip this over, and using a Allen key, we're going to go ahead and remove the 6 retaining bolts up here. So I've got this really cool hex key set. It's got different colors, so I know, you know, which size is which real easy. I know which way they go back in. It's actually a really nice kit. I like it a lot. I picked it up here in Japan. So, yeah. And it wasn't cheap, which is unfortunate, because, I mean, it's not an expensive thing to have a set of Allen keys, but it was a little bit more pricey than I thought it would be. Alright, so we almost got this off. You'll see it's pretty easy to take the stick apart. Alright. And I think I did a breaking down the stick episode on this, where I covered all this. So taking this apart is covered in more details there if you're interested. Alright, so we got these off. Anyways, we'll go ahead and set those up here on the workbench, get them out of the way. And then I'm just going to grab the lever. Boom, the whole panel pulls off. And we're going to set this off to the side. Okay, now that we've done that, we kind of have our empty chassis here. Let's go ahead and grab one of the fancy Jasen's Customs Hitbox panels. These things weigh a ton. This here weighs more than the case, and actually I'm not 100% sure that, but we're gonna do it here live on stream and show you guys. We'll find out the exact weight. All right, so here I got my little mailing scale here. This is what I use when I'm mailing any packages out of Japan. So we're gonna turn this on, let it zero out, and hopefully y'all can see that on the stream. If not, I'm gonna read it off. Don't worry. We're gonna put that case up there. All right, the case weighs 1 pound 15.6-ish ounces. Not so bad. 1 pound 15.6 inches or ounces. That's almost 2 pounds. Okay, almost. Let's take my panel. We're gonna put this on the scale, and I'm just using this to balance. 2.4 pounds. 2.4. You're doubling the weight of your stick with this amazing freaking panel, man. That's awesome. Alright, there you go. More than double. Maybe about double, because this doesn't have the bottom plate in. Alright, so we'll set that off to the side. That's how you know quality right there. Alright, so we're going to take this panel, we're going to just lay it in place, and you'll see that it drops right in, no problems. It's nice and flush with the rest of the case. That looks beautiful. And we're going to go ahead and just take these screws and put them back into place. Now, your wrap end is not going to look as scuffed up as mine. Mine, like I said, this thing is kind of a workhorse. It's a great thing to test a bunch of stuff in, move the case around. I'm test fitting lots of cool stuff for this. Be very excited there if you're not a Hitbox player and you're looking for other things. Because we got a lot coming. It's going to be fantastic. Alright, so we're just screwing these back in. And we're doing this now because I want to have just a good, easy workspace to deal with here. Whoops. Let's see if I can get this to actually line up and go in. There we go. Alright. Yeah, that just fits nice. It's nice. And ideally, you don't want to tighten all these screws down straight away. You want to get them in loose so that, you know, there's some, you know, just a little bit of, not a lot of play, but just enough to kind of get everything square in the case. Oops. All right, there we go. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get into, you know, Samduxa Crown, they don't make the 24mm buttons for mechanical. I really wish they did, and I'm trying. I really am trying. I think I email them weekly and ask them, hey, what's the status of 24? And I don't think that I don't want to say they don't understand. I don't think they see the value yet. We'll get them there, though. We'll get them there. Okay, so now we got that panel in, and already this thing feels super nice. I'm going to go ahead and just clean off the panel and the whole thing a little bit, just because it looks a little gross. It's not gross. It's just, you know, fingerprints and, you know, just stuff from sitting in the shelf, getting moved around, whatever. You know, some war wounds on the plastic. Not a big deal. All right. There we go. That's pretty tight. There we go. And if you're watching the stream, hopefully you have you see the ads I've got on the left. That's all for stuff in my shop. One thing is, if you want to buy something from me today, right now, during the stream, it's going to go off as soon as the stream ends, you can check out with the code STREAMMONSTER, and you'll get 10% off your order. No matter what you want in my store, 10% off of your full order using that code while we're streaming live. And I think I'm going to make that a regular thing. So, it's pretty sweet. Okay, so yeah, there we go. We got that out. Got a couple micro scratches in here that I've got from just battle wounds of moving around the house, moving things in the closet back there behind me. Ain't no thing. But whatevs. Alright, so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to install the buttons that I've chosen for this now while I've got it, and put those in. And I'm just using straight Sanwa OBSFs. I've got these blacks here and the white for the up. Apparently I don't know how to count, and I got 5 blacks. But for the action buttons, we're going to use the dark high, you know, the 24mm dark high that I was able to convince Sanwa to bring back out, and you can pick up on the shop. These are a great color. I don't know why these weren't a stock color for a long time, but well, now at least we've got them in our shop. I think Arcade Shock's got them in their shop still, and yeah, I think that's it. So there we go. Yeah, alright, cool. That looks pretty good. Now, the one thing that, I'll be honest, the one thing that, it's not annoying, it's just a weird thing, is we had to offset the Hitbox layout a little bit because of the cutout inside the case, and it's not a big deal, but it would be cooler if this button was centered here on this vertical line. But it's not a huge deal, so we'll deal with it. Okay, so now what am I looking for? Ah, there it is. Alright, so because I'm going to flip this over and I don't want to scratch up my buttons, I'm going to use a little bit of blue painter's tape and throw it everywhere, apparently. And I'm just going to put it over the top of my buttons, like so. So I don't scratch them up. Now, we'll get a little tape glue on them, but we can just clean that off pretty easy. Alright, so let's go ahead and flip this guy over and reveal the rest of our insides. Okay, so now, you know, we're kind of back at square one. We've got our buttons installed, and we've got this laid out. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to find a convenient place to stick your SOCD cleaner. You know, somewhere up here might be okay using the sticky feet, somewhere, you know, up here, and if you can swing it, you know, maybe even somewhere down here. This is actually a pretty good spot, I do think so. But before we get into mounting it, because by the way, you'll get these sticky feet to mount it. You don't want to just put those in and then mount it down. You want to have some room so that you can get everything in place, then stick it down once all the wires and stuff are hooked up. But I did say that I was going to show you some more stuff about this, so let's do that. Okay, so like I said earlier, you need to apply power to this board. So let's assume that we have not hooked this up yet, the joystick connector, and you say, okay, well, I don't have any red or white wire. It doesn't matter where you get it from. I don't include it because, you know, maybe you need about this much, maybe you want this much, depending on where you're going to put it. I'll leave that up to you, but I think about 8 inches is going to be more than enough. It can be the same color wire too, as long as you recognize which one you've hooked up to 5 volts and which one you've hooked up to ground. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab a Phillips head screwdriver here, and we are going to remove the stock PCB here. So just using this, we're going to remove the 4 screws. We're going to set those off to the side so we don't lose them. Like so. And you can either disconnect all of these wires to make it easier, or you can leave them on. I'm just going to leave them on because I don't need to do any soldering. It's already done. But you may want to remove them, at least these gray ribbon cables, the USB cable, to make this easier. But that's entirely up to you. Alright, so we got those removed, set off to the side there. And we're going to just go ahead and lift the PCB out, like so. Now, when I flip the PCB over, you're going to see I've already got my red wire soldered in and my black wire soldered in. Here is where the USB cable comes into the board. The USB cable is detachable. You just disconnect that and, you know, it's just a JST connector on one side. But it's a through-hole connector on the board. And what that means is, here's the circuit board. I'm going to like pretend my hand is the plane of the circuit board turned on side. And here's the connector. Here's my fingers. It goes through like this, and the pins go through the board. And then over here, where my fingers are wiggling, that is where you solder the connectors in place. And then when you flip it over this way, there's like little rings of basically solder that are on the board, that they're called pads, and that's where the solder binds the signal to those pins. So it kind of flows in and fills around these pins and touches those pins to the solder pad around it, which connects to the signals on the board. So those are exposed electrical connections, and those are excellent places to use and to make up for 5 volts and ground. Now, you can tell which one's 5 volts because one, it's labeled down here. I think it says VCC, and then obviously over here it says ground, GND. And if you flip it over here, you can also see it's labeled VUSB, you know, D minus, D plus, ground, ground, and 5. Or S. It's an S, not a 5, which means shield. And so red in USB is always 5 volts. 5. In black is always ground. And in these boards, shield and ground are connected, so you really kind of have 2 options. But I always just make it a point to solder to the one labeled ground, just in case the shield is not connected to it, but it should be. So what I did is I flipped this over, and I took some wire, as thin as you can find. You're not drawing mountains of current here. You can use real thin wire. I stripped off some end, and then I tinned it using my soldering iron, which I have here. So by tinning it, what that means is I took some... Oh, perfect, I got it out. I took some flux paste, and I twisted it into the wires, and made a nice clean end. And then I took some solder, and I fed the solder into the wire. So basically the solder flows into the ends of the wire and tins it. Then what I did is I applied a little bit of solder to the pin, or to the pins here, just a little bit to add a little glob, an extra glob. And then I took my wire, I lined it up, got it close, and then I took my soldering iron and I just like that, and let the solder kind of all reflow. And I made sure I held it there, and as it cooled, it created a nice tight bond between this wire and the solder joint. Now, if you don't do it right the first time, not a big deal. Just inspect your work and make sure it's not bridging anything. Use the soldering iron, you can touch it and remove the wire and try again. You don't need a lot of solder. These things are only like 2.0 millimeters apart. That's pretty far. That's pretty close. It's not real far, but it's plenty of room to work. So you do that process for both the ground and the positive, or the 5 volts rather. Now this method will work on every fight stick out there that uses USB. I don't know of any fight sticks off the top of my head that don't use a through-hole connector to connect their USB cable. And the reason they do that is because it's stronger, and 2, they can just disconnect it and plug it in. Now there are some exceptions, I guess, now that I think about it out loud. The Mad Catz TE2 doesn't have a removable connector, but the wires for the USB are, you know, their Pro cable connector is actually fed in and soldered through a hole, which is a through-hole connection, and you can do the exact same thing there. There may be other ways to do it. You can tap off the LED board power on the circuit board if you want. I mean, there's a ton of ways to do it, but the USB is going to be the cleanest because you guaranteed 5 volts, and that's what the circuit's designed around, is 5 volts. So there you go. So now, once you do that, it's probably a good idea to have your wires here for power and ground cut a little bit long so that you have a lot of room to work here. And that's originally what I had done. I think my wires were probably like 2 feet long. And once I got it in, I just took my multimeter and I tested to make sure I hadn't shorted anything, and I was happy with the results, and I was good. Now, you could, if you chose, decide to put a little dab of hot glue somewhere between your solder joint and down here, and then press the wires into it so it holds it in place and removes some strain off your new solder joints. I chose not to do that because this isn't moving around a lot. There's not going to be a lot of tension on it, so it's not necessary. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to put your hot glue on the solder joint itself, because if you're using hot glue to hold the joint in place, it's not a good joint. Your solder should hold the joint. The hot glue is just meant to kind of tidy things up and hold the wires in place and provide a place for tension to go vise onto your solder joint. So there you go. There's a tip for the day. And hot glue, it's just like, it's a non-conductive material, so you don't have to worry about it shorting anything on your board out. Perfectly safe. Just don't put a huge glob, because then it looks rookie, and you don't want to look that way. Okay, so now that I've got this up, I can actually look here, and I noticed that on the bottom of the PCB here, it actually has a nice legend for the wires, for the buttons. So I'm actually going to write that down so I can get this thing put back together tonight and start using it. So let me just grab my pen here, and let me find something to write on, which I don't have, so I'm going to grab a Sharpie instead of a pen, and I'll write on some blue painter's tape down here on my work surface. Alright, so if we go here, we've got square, and that is orange. And then we got circle, and that's blue. And then we got triangle, and that's yellow. I don't actually say it that way. Then it looks like right 2 is purple. And then right 1 is green. And then L2 is going to be gray. And L1 is red. And then we know start is white. Or we know that because it's still hooked up. Alright, so that's good. And because I can never remember what is what, I always have to use my pad. It's sad, right? So we know square is going to be punch 1. Triangle is punch 2. Then right 1 is punch 3. L1 is triple punch. L2 is triple kick. Alright, then X. Hey, there was no X on here. Maybe I missed it. Oh yeah, X. Oh crap. Son of a gun. Oh my god. X is orange. Damn it. Square is blue. Circle is yellow. Son of a gun. Whoops. So X, square, circle, then triangle, and then, damn it, R2, then R1, L2, L1. Oh my god. Terrible. Now I gotta start all over. Yikes. That was actually pretty embarrassing. Alright. That's the joys of doing this live. Alright. So we got X, square, circle, triangle, R2, R1, L2, L1, and option. Okay, so X is going to be K1, Square is punch 1, circle is K2, triangle is punch 2, R2 is K3, R1 is P3, L2 is triple kick, L1 is triple punch, and that's obviously start. Alright, now it goes orange, blue, yellow, purple, green, gray, black, red, and white. Alright, there we go. Whew! That's actually quite embarrassing. Alright, so now we got the colors mapped out. We can reconnect everything. That's good to go. Let's go ahead and put our PCB back in now that we have successfully reattached attached the power, and putting the board back in is just like we took it out. We lined it up. We got a headphone jack there that makes it a little bit easier, and then we put the screws back in place. Being careful not to lose them, because that would be embarrassing. And you don't want your PCB flopping around inside your fight stick anyway. That's just a bad place to be. Alright. Cool. And one more and we're good to go. Done. Okay, so let's go ahead and, I guess while we're here, we're going to go ahead and reconnect all our button colors up, because we might as well. So to do that, we're going to just go ahead and kind of slide the SOCD over, and we're going to grab all these wires and just make them back up, and hopefully not cause any damage to anything due to carelessness, because that would be bad. Alright, so we know punch 1 is going to be blue, so that's good. Let's go ahead and plug that in. Be careful with these ribbon cables for the touchpad. They're fragile. I mean, they can take a little tugging, but you don't want to do it. Not too much. All right, now punch 2 is going to be purple. So let's fish our purple wires out of this mess. And I'm going to try and make these as clean as possible as I reinstall everything, because we're in here, we might as well make everything look nice while we're doing it. Alright. Or at least try to. Maybe not as nice as we want, but we'll get it up. Alright. Okay, punch 3 is gray. So grab our gray wires here. Perfect. And it doesn't matter which one goes on which terminal. All the button is really doing is just kind of shorting the 2 wires out, which then sends a signal to the circuit board that converts that into a signal your PlayStation understands over USB. So you can swap these around all day and it doesn't matter. As long as you don't like put a gray wire with the green wire, then that would matter. But yeah. Alright, then last, for triple punch, we got red here. So we'll go ahead and plug that in, like so. Okay. Alright. Triple kick is black. So, nice long wires here. Get those plugged in. And I think, if I remember correctly, most Hori sticks use the same coloring, so this should be good for all Hori sticks. I mean, it just makes sense. You know, you can have someone who does this in the factory, and if they know that the green wires always go on the 3rd button on the bottom row as you're looking at it from the down, then, you know, it's super easy. Alright, K2 is yellow. Good to go. And then K1 is orange. And we'll plug that in. And we've reconnected everything, so good for us. Alright. Now, we could get some zip ties, and if I have them handy, I'll go ahead and use some. We do need some dikes. Alright, I couldn't find my little pack of normal zip ties, but I just built a computer, and I have the little crummy ones that come with that, so I'm just going to use that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just tighten these wires up a little bit just to make them look a little bit more presentable. 100% optional, you don't have to do this, but I do because I'm a little OCD. I mean, I even just missed a wire, so I'm going to clip it off and use another one to make sure I get all of the wires in my bundle, like so, and not miss any. And you can do as many or as few zip ties as you want. I think I'm only going to go with a couple here, and just kind of go where it makes sense. Like move down, you know, okay, so the orange is still there, so we can probably come here and just clean this up like this. Tighten this down. Boom. And then maybe one more, just for aesthetics. I think we can grab the white. Yeah, what do we think? Yeah, that looks good. Just like that. Perfect. And we'll trim the tails. No one wants the tails. Boom. And hey, Hori, permission granted to trim the tails on yours too. And there you go. So we got a pretty good looking setup there. You know what? We're going to do one more down here. Most companies don't use a lot of zip ties because zip ties cost money and time, but in small scale manufacturing or small scale modding like this, that's nothing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we can go ahead and just connect our JLF connector like so. And looking here, we know red is up, red is down, orange is up, left is yellow, right is green, and black is ground. So there you go. And you can come here and kind of see it silk screen on the board as well. Makes it super convenient. And once we get that set up, what you'll see is I kind of dragged the power cables that we put in over here, and I'm going to go ahead and just toss a zip tie here to make this one nice, neat wire bundle as well, like so. And now this looks super clean, and it will look super clean when we're done too. All right, cool. Trim and trim. All right, now you're going to be tempted. All right, let me go ahead and toss in my PCB feet. No, don't do it yet. Here's why. Let's grab those buttons I had in this stick earlier. So I've already made all these nice fancy wires, crimped a bunch of stuff onto them. I'm just going to disconnect them because I want the wires, I don't want the buttons. I've already got buttons. So let's just disconnect those. We'll set the buttons off to the side. Got an extra one there. Oh, I broke it. That's why it's extra. I'm going to have to re-crimp an end. No big deal. Alright, there we go. Set these off to the side. Alright, this is actually fortuitous because since I broke one, it was one of the gray wires. Where's the other one? Okay. Well, that one looks pretty good. Ah, it's this one. Alright, so we're going to have to cut this one off. We're going to have to remake this wire, which is good because now I can show you how I do this. Alright, so I got a bare wire here. I grab my cutters, or my trimmers. Put them in, the wire in like that. Boom. Trims it off. Grab it. Twist it down a little bit. We're good to go. Put the trimmers back because I don't need those anymore. Now I'm going to need my crimpers. I've got crazy big crimpers here. Yours will not be this big, nor do they need to be this big. And now I got to find my little crimp tools, or my crimper connectors. Here we go. I got a whack of them here. Grab one that's 0.110 inches. All right. And we just go ahead and put that in there like so. Open up our crimping tool here, find the appropriate die to use. Mine is the middle one here. I've tested that many times with this set. And I crimp it down, and voila, I've got a connector. Good to go. All right. So now what we need to decide is which colors we're going to use where. So let's take a look at our wires. Ours are all kind of long, so we have a lot of flexibility here. Just again, as long as we use the same colors in pairs, it'll make it real easy to trace the wires back and forth. Now, you may be saying, hey man, I don't have a bunch of extra wires like you. You only sent me this thing with the crazy connector on the back. What do I do with this? Well, you're going to want to use a pair of nippers like this. This is called flush cutters, dikes, whatever you want to call them. You can come in, you can cut them off here. I'm not going to do it because I want to reuse this for another project. You cut it off here, you peel this off, and then you trim the ends, and now you've got a bunch of wires. In this case, I would probably try and mount this somewhere up here so that the wires were long enough to reach all the buttons. It's up to you. But when you make your own wires, it has a lot more flexibility. If you're not using the SOCD because you didn't buy it or you just don't want it, you would just plug this in, whoops, like this. They go together fine, and then you can just route your wires here. Easy day. All right, so that's how you do that. All right, we're going to set this aside. Just taking a look here to make sure the red and the black aren't shorted, and they're not. Okay, so let's get to work adding these wires here. Again, like I said, all mine are pretty long, so I've got a lot of options here. I'm just going to plug some in kind of as we go, and then I'll trim them down and strip the wires at the end here. So, not a big deal. And again, this may be a case of, when you make your wires or you're using the wire I sent you and you're kind of modifying it for your purposes, you can, it'll dictate where you put your board. The longer your wires, the more options you've got. So naturally, you're going to be limited by the length of your joystick connector. So, keep that in mind as well. All right. So now we got all these set up. We're good to go there. We're not going to cable manage yet, but we are going to route these underneath like so and get this here. And actually, you know what? I lied. I am going to cable manage because it's easy and we're right here. So let's do this. Okay. And we'll do another one here like so. And we can do a third one up here if we really want to. Let me decide. Yeah, screw it. We're going to do a third one here. So we have a nice tight wire set like this. And then we just trim the tails, right? No tails allowed. Cool. So voila, that's good to go. Now, since we know we're going to mount our SOCD down here like that, we can kind of get a rough idea of how long the wires need to be. So I could route them like this. They're not long enough. I could try at least. So I'm going to just kind of create a nice loop here of all of them. And I'm going to get in the general idea of where I think they need to be, all of them. And I'm going to add just like maybe a thumb's width. So like that. And then I'm going to trim them all at one time. Or maybe almost all at one time. Like this. So there you go. Now we're all ready to strip and install. Now you may choose to do this end first and then measure out and crimp the ends. It's up to you. This is just how I did it because I already had the ends crimped, so that made it super easy. Okay, so let's grab our fancy wire stripper again. Now we got to be careful. We don't want to strip a ton of wire because these are very shallow terminals. They don't need a lot. So I can't just go all the way to the edge guard here. I'm just going to go about halfway and boom, just trim each one. And I'm going to do these one at a time just so I get the right length. Now you could do multiple wires at a time. It's usually easier and better if you have to do a big strip and you're going to do a lot of wires. So that's why I'm doing one at a time, because I want to do small strips. Okay, and what I'm doing over here is I'm just ejecting the little sleeve, because if it gets caught in there, it doesn't actually automatically grip it properly. And that's just a thing I picked up having used this tool for the last couple of years. All right, cool. So we got that done, and we should be done with those. Now we're going to go ahead and just kind of go back and inspect and twist these wires, make sure none of them are excessively long. If they are, we're going to go ahead and use our dikes or our flush cutters to trim those down. And it looks like we should be pretty good across the board here. Just to be safe, this one looks a little long. I'm going to make sure I trim this outside the case because I don't want all those errant wires inside. So we're good to go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and grab our PCB here, and we'll move it up this way so we have some room. So we know our blue wire is left, so we can find that on our board, and then we would plug that in. But let's go ahead and start with right, because that is at the very top, or I'm sorry, yeah, ground and right. So we know brown is ground, or sorry, brown is right. So let's grab those two wires and plug them in like so. If they don't go in real smooth, that means your screw terminals are not loosened all the way, so use your flathead screwdriver to loosen them. But in this case, ours are actually, that one's not going in. So let's grab our skinny screwdriver here and loosen it all up. And we're just going to check loose on all of them. Holy crap, that wind is nuts. Alright, and we'll go back in and make sure, plug these in. Now you want to make sure, excuse me, that there are no errant wires that are not in the screw terminal, because what that will do is that will actually create a potential for a bridge between the ground and the signal wire, and you could get false indications or false button pushes, and you definitely don't want that. Alright, so we got that wire in, tighten it down, just do a pull test, yep, it's good to go, and we move on to the other one, get that in place, push it in, and go all the way down. Now, one thing that I've learned over the years is sometimes people will put the wire in and screw it down, and it's going to get above the screw terminal part that screws down. If it gets above, it'll actually feel like it's got a good connection, but it doesn't, and people will complain, hey, this doesn't work, what the heck? I tell them, take all your cables out and reseat them, and they're like, no, I promise you they're all good. And I'm like, no, seriously, disconnect them all and reseat them, and I bet you it'll fix your problem. And guess what? 99 out of 100 times, that's the case. The other one time that this doesn't work, it's because they didn't hook up power. Okay, so now the next one is left. That was blue. So we'll grab our two blue wires, and let's go ahead and plug these in. Alright, like that, and like that. Get rid of this errant piece of wire. Alright, next is down. In that case, that's our orange. Now, one thing I really do like about hardware cleaners like this is you don't have to worry about the software mods of the stock PCB. I've always been curious how some people have been able to firmware update stock boards without it being supported by the company who made it. I feel like eventually that could become a problem, or at least, it's probably fine, but I'm nervous about it. I'm a nervous Nelly about lots of things, though. So this way, with a stock PCB, ideally, you shouldn't have to ever worry about updating your firmware, because this has no firmware. It's all done with logic gates, and those don't break, usually. Alright, did that go in? Yeah, good. Alright, so we're going slow because we're talking and we're modding at the same time. This, if you're focused and you're not trying to explain as you go and entertain people, albeit poorly, this will go much faster for you. Alright, there we go. That's good. And last two, this is going to be up, gray, up, hooked up to that white button down there, so that's good. Okay. And voila. Yes. Done. I think I'm actually excited this is finally done because now I'll have this cleaned up and buttoned up and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's the little victories in life, people. Alright, let me feed this USB cable back through the door. I just noticed it's on the wrong side. Now, one thing that I've seen people do is they've actually drilled on this side and put a Nutrit connector here, so they have a detachable cable. That's a pretty clever idea, and it hides it nice and well, so you'd never really know it's down there. I can always appreciate cool stealth mods like that. I'm not going to do that with this one because I don't need to and I don't want to, but it's an option. Okay, now the last thing you're going to get with your kit are these sticky PCB feet. So we're going to take them out and hopefully they're tall enough that this clears. I'm afraid that they're not, so maybe this is not a great place to stick it, but I could just stick it like this, vertically. That will be a good install. So let's do that. Alright, so from the bottom you just stick them in, boom. These are super low profile, which is nice, and they just kind of snap into place like so. This is going to provide a nice standoff between the PCB and the board, as well as, you know, all the exposed through-hole pins here. Then we just peel off these little stickers that hide, or excuse me, protect the adhesive on the bottom feet here, on the bottom of the feet. Good lord. Like so. And then kind of go down here like this. And you want to get it as far down as you can. That ain't gonna work. There we go. This is just kind of a little trial and error, I guess. Finding the best spot, because like, this connector wants to get in the way, so I'm going to disconnect it. Maybe I can plug it back in. Nope, that ain't going to work. Alright. Fortunately, the glue is not super strong, so you got some wiggle room there. Alright, maybe we can come over here. Nope, that ain't going to work. Ah! I guess the alternative is I could just stick it to the bottom and then lay it down, and then be good. Yeah, let's do that. That'll be a way to do it. It's not how I envisioned, but that's alright. Alright, so this is going to go up like that, so we can stick this like here. That should be good. We can just lay this back down. Hopefully. Let's see, is that going to work? Oh my god. There we go. That's not working because now this board is hitting the plastic standoff. I didn't get it quite far enough over. So let's peel this off. Here, come on. Like that. And see if that will be better. It's always something with these mods, right? Okay, look, all our connections still appear to be tight. All right, there we go. Wait, it's still hitting something. Good lord. You don't want to just mash this down because you don't want it to be pinching something it's not supposed to. And I really can't tell what's hitting. That's weird. Oh, it was just not aligned. We're good. Alright, there we go. The panel was just not aligned, so we actually had that lined up pretty well. Okay. That is a way to do it. That is probably not the way, excuse me, I would have done it. But I don't really feel like taking the top off and repositioning it from the top. But yeah, that kind of goes into making sure that you understand where you want to put everything so that you don't run into those issues. Because there's a lot of room in this fight stick. I could have probably put that in 100 different places. but I had already trimmed the wires, so I was kind of stuck. So let me go ahead and put some of these tools away that I don't need anymore so that we keep clean. And here we go. Grab my fancy power screwdriver here and put the bottom back on. Whoops, not that way, we're not. Boom. And this mod is done. Well, I guess it's almost done. As soon as we put the screws in, it's done. I am having a tough time tonight. There we go. Perfect. This little screwdriver saves a ton of time. Oh, apparently I've lost a screw. Well, that's too bad. I guess that's what happens when you wait like 5 months to actually finish the project. I'm gonna probably find it randomly, but not tonight because it's not here, so. Alright. So, as we flip this back over, you're gonna see our freshly modded HWrap-in Hitbox, complete with SOCD cleaner. That came out really good. That came out really nice. It's really not a hard mod to do. Oh, cool, look at that. The Tapeworks is a great pickup device. You know, 2 solder points. It's not great. It's not bad. It's pretty easy to do. So, you know, to make your fight stick, you know, a hitbox and make it tournament legal. That's huge. No harm, no foul there. And you don't have to have fancy tools to do this. You can use just the basic hand tools, cheap $5 soldering iron. Heck, you know, I think you can probably find them for a couple bucks on Amazon or eBay. It may only work once, but it's only a couple bucks. Maybe you'll only need it once. Okay, so before we go ahead and plug this in and test it, maybe I can bring up the joy.cpl here on the stream. Let's cover what we did just to kind of recap. First things first, we had a Hori wrap end that we wanted to convert to a hitbox. So we grabbed the fight stick off our shelf and then we went over to jasonscustoms.com and we ordered the Hori wrap end hitbox conversion kit that came with the panel, the SOCD cleaner, and the JLF adapter, as well as 4 PCB feet. Now, then what we did is we got it in the mail, we flipped over the case, we removed the bottom, we disconnected all of the wires from the existing Hayabusa lever and the buttons, and then flip the case back over, remove the 6 screws here that you can find our Hicks screws, and see how we took that apart using the breaking down the stick video I did on this. Remove those and then pulled the whole panel off and set it off to the side. After that, we went ahead and put the hitbox panel in place and then re-screwed it down. Now, if you have artwork, this is where you put artwork in or put it on if it's been printed at a vinyl shop, which is what I would recommend, or when Layers FGC gets this up and running on their site 100%, picking it up from them. Or Art over at Tech Innovations, I'm going to go ahead and send him the plans for this so he can make art in thin plexi for it if you want to go that route as well. That's where you put that in. Then we went ahead and put the buttons in its place, got it all screwed down, and we put some painter's tape over the top of it so when we flipped it over we didn't worry about scratching our buttons. From there we went ahead and removed the stock PCB, flipped it over, and we found where the USB power and ground are connected to and soldered in 2 pieces of wire there, because we're going to use those to power our SOCD cleaner. Once we got those soldered in place, we had the optional step, which we did not do in this video, of putting a little dab of hot glue on the circuit board and laying the wires in it just to provide an anchoring point for them. It would not be on the solder joints, it would be downstream of those or upstream, depending on which way you're looking. It's a place just that that would absorb any shock or pulls, vice the solder joint. After that, we went ahead and routed those wires to our SOCD cleaner. This is where you kind of want to figure out where you're going to put your SOCD cleaner so you know how long to cut your wires. We cut them off, we trimmed them, we put them into the 5-volt and the ground screw terminals because it is absolutely required for this SOCD to work properly. and then we connected the joystick harness to it. From there, we went ahead and reconnected all the button wires so that we didn't have to worry about that, and added some zip ties to clean it all up. Next, we made some new wires. In our case, we made some new wires with 0.10 or 110 inch quick disconnects and hooked those up all to our directional buttons. We made them all the same. We made each button wire the same color so we knew which wires went to which buttons, and then connected them up to our SOCD. Now, if you don't have your own wires and you want to use this little guy here, which is the conversion harness that you can get, you just lop this end off, go ahead and strip back some of it, and then use these wires to plug into the screw terminals and then connect them to your buttons. That way works fine. After that, we needed to place the mount our PCB. The original place, we realized that the feet that I had in the kit were too short, so it wasn't going to sit above the ridges in the case, the bones of the case that make the plastic stronger, and we ended up mounting it on the bottom panel and kind of just making sure that it was in a spot that when we laid the bottom panel back in, it didn't interfere with any of the plastic towers for support. After that, we went ahead and got it lined back up, put the bottom panel in and screwed it in, and voila, we flipped it over, removed the painter's tape, and we're back to square one, but now we have a Hitbox. So the only thing left to do is to test this installation, and to do that, we're going to plug this into a USB port on the PC and open up a program called joy.cpl. It's on every single PC. Just click the start button and type that in, joy.cpl. Alright, so let me go ahead and try that now. And hopefully it works. Alright, let me just open up the program and I'll share it on the screen. And possibly knock over the microphone at the same time. Alright. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Not while I'm live. Wouldn't that be terrible? Oh wait, here we go. That one. Done. Alright, we'll put that right there. Okay. Alright, fingers crossed we have everything connected. We did this right, because if not, we just have a loose connection somewhere so we can try it out. And I think this window actually has to be active or it won't realize what's going on, so let me make sure that's that. Alright, we'll hit up. Look at that. We got up. We got no left, because I bet you I have a loose connection. We got down and we got right. No left means a bad connection. Isn't that terrible? But we can at least test, up and down. That works. Alright, so that's good. But, oh, there we go. Left. Look at that. And apparently, I'm going to have to check that connection because it's not tight if it's intermittently working. So left, right, at the same time, neutral. And there you go. Easy. Cool. And we can just make sure all our other buttons are working, because we did disconnect those. Alright, good. So we got that all done. All good. So look at that. Yeah, this button right here, our left button, is not, it's got a bad connection, which is why it's doing that. So we're going to have to fix that. But that's why you don't actually button this all up before you test it, so that you don't end up with something like this. It's weird. Alright. Something's weird. I'm just going to have to go in and tweak it. Not a big deal. But there you go. That's the end of that. So we marginally got this working, minus one little thing that I have to go in and tweak and fix, which is not going to be that big of a deal. It's just, like I said, probably a loose connection. So we'll go ahead and open it up, make a better connection, tighten the screws down, and call it a day. It could just be a loose connection here at the button, maybe at the screw terminal. Likely at the screw terminal. That's 99% of the places where we're going to have an issue. So we'll just open it up. Actually, yeah, let's see if we can do it now. Maybe we can get in from the top. We'll just go ahead and disconnect the USB so there's no power going to the stick, and then we can fix it. But, you know, that's a good lesson learned, and that's something that I'm glad this kind of happened, because it brings me to a point where you don't ever really want to button everything up until you test it 100%, because then you run into a situation like this, and then you have to open it, and you're like, oh my god. So I guess be a little bit more patient than I was and try it out. Normally I don't like to do a bunch of testing on stream because inevitably something goes wrong, and you know, and then it's like, oh my god, what do I gotta do to fix it? And then, you know, you get all frazzled because you got people watching. But you know, and then inevitably when I do decide to test something on stream, it doesn't work, and it's usually something easy. So, oh, all right, let me check this out. Fingers crossed, it's just a easy fix. And I bet you these wires, no, I'm not even be able to get to it from up here, so I'm gonna actually have to take the bottom panel off to fix this or investigate it further. Lame. Can't really get to anything. There's a lot of plastic on the inside of the stick. It's all good, it happens. And unfortunately my light up here died, which is why it's dark, sorry. I'm going to have to pick up another Elgato Stream light and just kind of have it rigged up as my overhead light for the work area, because these here work really well. I mean, I'm nice and bright, you guys can see me. Over here it's nice and bright, what you can't see. I probably should just move one of those so that I don't have to buy another one. Alright, now we got these all back in, so we'll just go ahead and tighten them all back down. Okay, and then, well, I guess we should put the painter's tape back on so we don't scratch our buttons up. We'll use this recycle tape. Oh my god. Yeah. We just won't move the stick around a lot. Alright. And we'll just remove the screws. Oh, one left. Okay. Alright, so that's in there nice and tight. So let's see if we can get in here and just check the connections real quick. Okay, so the blue wire is the one causing an issue. Yeah, look at that. See? Boom, just like that. That wire came right out. That was the problem. The elevator wasn't all the way up before we stuck the wire in, and it made it seem like it was a good connection, but clearly it wasn't. And we were exposed. So I'm actually kind of glad that we decided to test this on stream and capture the repair, because it kind of pointed out a thing that I warned you guys about earlier in the video and just demonstrated it, you know, live. Hey, there you go. Alright, so now I'm confident. Well, I shouldn't say that too loud. Yeah, I'm 99% sure that's fine. Let's go ahead and get the bottom panel lined back up. What is causing a problem here? get the, there we go, get the wires out of the way. Fight with this again because of our board placement. There we go. There was just one of our bundles of wires was between the panel and one of the plastic supports. Okay. Now, whoops, we're gonna fight through this all over again. Jesus. It'd help if I went in the right direction. Clearly it's getting late. Things are fighting me. Mostly my brain and tiredness. Nope, wrong way. You'd think I've never used a screwdriver before. Oh my gosh. Well, the panel's not lined up, that didn't help. There we go. Jesus. All right. Damn it. Kind of super embarrassing and frustrating at the same time. There we go. They're much easier coming out. I guess this would be a lot easier if I had magnetic screwdriver bits too. When it starts to jump like that, you're risking stripping it, so be careful. Because if you strip a screw, it's going to be terrible. There we go. Yeah, I got one more. I guess we'll stick it down here. There we go. Good. All right, and let's go ahead and clean this up. Flip the sun gun over. Peel the painter's tape back away. Open up, actually plug the USB in. All right. Let's go ahead and open the Joy.cpl. Properties. Hey, look at that. It is on the screen, but we need to fix it because that's not the right one. We want to remove that, and we're going to add it back in. Let's drag that down here so y'all can see it. Oh, and of course we need to make it active because if it's not at the active window, it will not work. It's weird like that. We got up, we got down. Hey, left works, right works. Yeah, perfect. Look at that. And then if we do down and up, up. Boom. You're like playing Guile. You're like, what's up, what's up, what's up? Boom. Boom, flash kick. Or you want to do his super, boom, boom, flash kick. Like that. Easy. Look at that. Perfect. Yes. The SOCD is working. Neutral, neutral, right, neutral, down, up, down, right, down, back. just like that. You got your half circles. I can't do a full circle because I'm not a Hitbox player. So there you go. It's pretty easy, and we're done. That is the Hitbox conversion. And like I said in my intro, the steps here, they're kind of universal. I'm just gonna clean off the stick now that I'm done. The process for installing this is kind of universal. If you're using the SOCD in one of my panels, this is a guide. It's specific, obviously, to the wrap in, but the process is still the same. You're still going to remove the old face. You're going to put the new face in with the new buttons. You're going to get the SOCD cleaner put in there. You're going to hook up the existing JLF to the SOCD. You're going to find a convenient point for 5 volts and ground, and then connect those up to the circuit board as well as to the SOCD. And then you're going to either modify your Hitbox conversion kit, wire kit that I gave you, or just use some of your own, which, you know, I may have to get some of those made manufactured just to make this a little bit easier for y'all. It's just one less thing. And then you button it all back up and test it in joy.cpl on your PC, and voila, you're good to go. You got a full Hitbox conversion, and you got a pretty nice stick at the same time. You can pick up all these kits right there on my website. Again, if you use the coupon code right now, Stream Monster, all one word, Stream Monster, you're going to get 10% off. Our prices are already pretty low. We actually revamped a lot of prices when we came up with the new website. Just found some efficient places to do business and ways to save some cash and pass those savings right on to you guys, because that's the way we like to do it. And once the stream ends, I'm going to go in and disable that code, so act fast. And then if you're watching this on a VOD, you know, just know that I'm probably going to be activating that code anytime I stream. I don't stream frequently, but I do stream enough that if you catch me at the wee hours in the morning in the US, which is real late here in Japan, or in the wee hours of Japan, which is late in the United States, you can snag 10% off. And that works on everything. The Panzer Fight Stick, any of the panels, the Brook Retro Board, the Universal Fight Board, plexis, carbon fiber panels, printed plexis, you name it, whatever's in stock, you can get 10% off. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys learned something. I think this was a pretty worthwhile endeavor to do on stream, vice a sit-down video. It does end up being a little bit longer, but it's a good opportunity for us all to chat and watch me struggle with a screwdriver for a little bit and install some of the gear that we've designed for the community. So I'm Jason. I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. It's instagram.com/jasonscustoms. I take pictures of a lot of stuff that I work on and post them up there. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/jasonscustoms, twitter.com/jasonscustoms. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe and then click that little bell icon, because that apparently is the new subscribe button. Whatever, that's a good way to make sure that you're always abreast of any of the new videos I've got posted. I have a couple pre-made videos that I'm working on. One is that custom Southpaw Hitbox. I actually recorded that whole build for start to finish, and I just need to edit that together. I've got my fight stick rack over here I built. I recorded a lot of that and made some good footage from that, so I got to edit that together and maybe post that up as well. So a lot of good videos coming out hopefully pretty soon. I picked up one of the new Hori fighting stick minis that they released. I haven't even opened it, so maybe I'll do an unboxing live stream of that tomorrow, maybe. And then I also have a Nikon, their Nikon no, it's not the Dragon. But I don't even remember the name of the fight stick, but Nikon's fight stick that they released. A lot of people have been asking me to do a breaking down the stick video of that, so that's going to be filmed here soon, I hope, and then I can edit that together and post that up as well. So just got to find some time in the budget to be able to do that, because, you know, I'm always busy doing stuff, and I guess as a treat before I sign off, I'll show you guys this first, because I'm pretty excited about it. What? What is that? What? Yes. We've got Mixbox panels coming, and these aren't your everyday Mixbox panels, not with little tiny wires and all that stuff. What is that? Look at that. This is a prototype. It's not the final one, but it'll be one connection JLF in. And then you got your keyboard, Cherry MX switches here, We've got another prototype of this backboard coming here shortly. But the panel's done. I like it. I think you guys are going to like it too. And this is the TE2 version. Depending on how well this one does, we may expand it to the other ones. But we've got this done. I'm pretty excited about it. So that's that. And then hopefully you guys have seen the ad. But we've got these two. This is the VLX Korean lever right here. Here's a Korean lever. Look at that. Boom. Collar, everything. We got this coming out. And maybe we got more. Can't tell you though. Got to keep it quiet because we're not quite ready to let the cat out of the bag yet on some of the other things. So you guys heard it here first. Thanks for sticking around for the outro and getting a sneak peek of that stuff. So again, I'm Jason. Make sure you follow me on all those social media things that I mentioned earlier, and follow me on YouTube and Twitch. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.